I'm going to email Candace.
That's it.
Okay.
We're good.
I got to get back in my Zoom meeting too. Okay.
Matt, are you seeing us?
Yep.
Are you not, Candace? I just sent a new link.
I got it.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Hey, Stace, can you change?
Are you
There's
not,
a
Candace? I
pretty
just sent
good
a new
delay.
link.
I got it.
Okay. The latency. Hmm. Is that any better? I don't know what to adjust.
Matt, how's it look on your end?
I think it looks good. I think we're gonna be good to go here.
Matt, how's it look on your end?
I think it looks good. I think we're good to go here.
I see two of them. I want to get this one done and this one.
All right. So are we ready to go, ESC team?
I think, I don't know if Candace has seen
Yes,
it.
we're ready. We're good.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get this party started. My name is Matt Hausch. I'm the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for Huber Heights City Schools. And I want to welcome you here tonight. Just to let you know, the purpose of this evening is to talk about schools PLP. And our goal is to just kind of show students and parents the platform and talk to you a little bit about how you can access it and how we're going to be using it, and just some of the background on why we're doing that. So just to give you a little intro, as I said, my name is Matt Hausch. I used to be a principal here in Huber Heights 10 years ago at Valley Forge Elementary School. And then I went to another school district, and now I'm back as the Director of Curriculum and Instruction. And what I want to first do is just talk to you a little bit about online learning. And I want everyone students and parents to hear this and kind of believe this, that, you know, even though it might be rough to start, or there might be some issues that we need to work out, we're going to get through it. We're going to support each other, and we're intentionally taking, you know, some time so that we can get everyone used to accessing the online learning, getting into their Seesaw or Google Classrooms, and you know, getting used to schools PLP as well. So you know, we just have to kind of be patient and work together so that we can all make this work for us and make the most out of this time until we get back to in-person learning. One thing to know is that no matter what, your students will always start off in either, if they're in kindergarten through second, they'll always start in their Seesaw classroom, or if they're in 3rd through 12th grade, they'll start in Google Classroom. So those are our first stops. If you think about a hotel, that's the lobby. You have to go into the lobby first. That's where you check in. That's where you get some information for the day. And that's where you start before you go into any other place, before you would go to schools PLP or do anything else. So we're going to make sure that students understand that they always go to their either Seesaw or Google Classroom first, and then they go to do other things from there. We're going to have welcome messages in there. Teachers will have what you're doing for the day or the week. So there'll be instructions in there in your Seesaw or Google Classroom. So, you know, it's really where you're going to understand what you're doing day to day. And then you will get to PLP, schools PLP, from Seesaw or Google Classroom. So there will be a link in one of those two platforms, and you'll click that and then go into schools PLP. And we're doing that for a good reason, because we really want to make sure that Seesaw and Google Classroom are places where we house a lot of communication, and we do some other things, teaching and learning with kids as well in those platforms. Another thing I want to address is why did we choose schools PLP? Well, it's a really dynamic program. It has lots of content. It's a great resource, and there's just so many good things about it that will help us with this online learning. We're able to blend some of our own Huber Heights content with schools PLP. So we're kind of doing a blended curriculum where we're using some of our tried and true teaching techniques and resources along with PLP. So it's going to be a mixed experience where teachers will definitely be guiding students along the way. There are some courses, especially at high school level, where there is no PLP content. So like AP courses and some other things like that. So students who have certain courses that aren't in PLP will just be using Google Classroom as their main platform. We also, in particular, picked these courses called Lincoln Learning. They're from a company called Lincoln Learning, because we really like the way that they were broken down into different chunks, like teach it, read it, learn it, assess it. It's these different parts of a lesson that will really make sense to students. And there's some great tools in there that you're going to learn about. There's a toolbar that will read the text for students. There are just lots of friendly tools in there. There's great assessment tools in there, and teachers can message students. So there's just a lot of good things that will make this online learning experience better for your kids and for the students. And then the last thing I want to talk about before I hand it over to Stacy, who is from the Montgomery County ESC, who's going to be helping us with presenting the training. And we also have Candace from the ESC and Amy here. There's a team from the Montgomery County Educational Service Center that's really supported us a lot through getting this off the ground. But the last thing I want to talk about is the first couple of days of school. We want you to really understand that we're going to be developing relationships with our students. We're going to be meeting each other. We're going to be acclimating, talking about how we're going to make online learning successful. So we're not going to start schools PLP the very first day, the very first minute that we're in class. We're going to work on developing our relationships and really getting off on the right foot. So, really schools PLP, your first lesson in there will probably happen next week. You might practice logging in, you might do some tours around it, but the first couple of days of school are all about us getting to know each other and really getting ready to have a great online experience. Okay. So once again, my name is Matt Hausch. I'll be here through the training, and at the end, I'll come back on and answer any questions. Most of the questions should be connected to schools PLP. That's what we're focused on tonight. If you have questions that are about other items, I'll try to answer them, but I might not be able to. Okay. So thank you very much. And I'm going to hand it over to Stacy.
Well, hello, and thank you for that. I'm going to share my screen now just to give you an idea of what it will look like when you do get to log into your school's PLP account. So let me get over to that. And I like the idea of how your district is rolling this out. Getting to know each other first is always a good idea, good start. Can you see the school's PLP demo district sign? Now, when you get your account, you will have Huber Heights at the top. It'll have the school district platform on here. And as the year goes on, you might see some personalized things that are related to your district as well. But just so you have an idea of what you're going to experience when you log in, I want to show you would log in. You'll have your username and password that will be provided by your district. And before we get into the student side of things, parents, I want to also show you that there is a login just for parents, and it will take you to your student's dashboard. So I'm going to click on this box right here, right beside the login tab before I hit login. And students, I'm going to have you wait just another minute while I show your parents around the data dashboard. So when parents log in to take a look at what your children are working on, you'll see all the courses that they're enrolled in on the left. And you'll have a snapshot of some data, how they're progressing in each subject. And I know you have your other platform where you're pushing out the work to schools PLP, but this little bar in here, the status bar, will also give you an idea of how your child is progressing through the assignments that the teacher has pushed out. So if they have 5 lessons for a week, because each lesson is about a day's work. And like he said, they might be substituting some lessons and things throughout the year in each unit, but they'll have a set amount that they'll push out, and the computer, as they finish the work and they pass those quizzes and assessments, it'll keep track of their progress. And you want to make sure that the gray bar is where they should be, their expected progress, and the bar above it should be really close together. Okay, so like that first one, that these aren't real kids, so they're not really working on the course. So that one is way off progress, right? They would not make it to the end on time, right? And get what they need to do. I'm going to scroll down though. So like in the beginning of the year, when you're not really expected to have much done, the little gray bar would be really small and the green bar would be small. But by the end of the week, if you had 5 lessons to complete and you completed all of them, you would have the green bar right aligned with the gray bar. Okay, so this is what we're really looking for. Whenever you see that green is good in schools PLP. Okay, it tells you that you're on track. Even that A right there is on track, right? Green is good. So that's just to monitor the progress in each one of the courses, parents, at a snapshot. And then I'm going to click right on the course name for you, just to give you an idea of what the whole year is kind of, once they get their pacing all calibrated with all your holidays off and your, I don't know if you're gonna have teacher work days, whatever it is that would maybe keep kids out of school traditionally, your children would be expected to have the same days off. So this program, when they have all the dates put in there, will calibrate so that the pacing will align with when they should be completing the course and give you the right amount of work for the each day. Not that the teachers can't customize that. I know some kids in other meetings we've been in have said, oh, can we work ahead? You know, they want to do a little more, and that's something you want to communicate with your teacher. And they might have certain things that they could supplement your lessons with to really enrich the learning. So in this view, this overview, parents, you'll see all the upcoming lessons to kind of get an idea of what's coming. You'll see all the grades that they've earned on submitted assignments and work, the last activity that they did. And this column, I think, is really important as well, because it tells you the number of attempts they made to earn mastery on a course. Now, your district will set that score. If they think, you know, a 75 mastery, they'll set that. And that's when, if you earned at least a 75, then you earned the mastery in one attempt. And your teachers will have the opportunity to push those quizzes back out, push different review lessons back to your students to make sure that they are getting mastery on the courses that they're working on in schools PLP. And it's all built right in. They can bring in their own content, they can bring in videos, and they can pull it from a huge database of curriculum that's embedded in this resource that Mr. Houch has mentioned to you already. And then the total minutes that they've worked is also listed there. So I want to go back here. Again, now you're back to your main data dashboard. If I click over to the report card tab, it will show me a list of all the courses. And again, am I on progress? Am I making progress in all of my courses? This one says far behind in bright red, right? Orange is behind, and on track is green. And then the grades that I've earned so far, instructional days that I've been working in the course, hours logged, lessons that were finished or unfinished, and the total lessons. And this is for each course that the students enrolled in, okay, in schools PLP. All right, so that's kind of a nice informative spreadsheet too, for every course in one glance. And then there's this tab, the daily activity. You know, it's a new experience. So I think in the beginning, you might have to make some adjustments, find a nice place where your child is able to work best, find out what kind of supports they might need. And as you work some of that out with your teacher and your home, you can also kind of look at these things and see if you can kind of get that just right minute or just right time of how long to work and when to work on your courses. But looking at this, you have the date that the child logged in, the minutes they worked, the lessons they finished, the lessons mastery first time, and the login session. And I'm just pointing these out because logins just mean they entered the password and the computer's running, right? It doesn't necessarily tell you what they did or if there was activity at all. But over here under minutes worked, that actually is calculated in the program and the learning management system, because it can tell when the child is actually submitting an assignment or watching a video or clicking around in that activity. So it kind of, this is like, to me, this is the real honest, what's my child doing online and how much time did they really invest? Now, granted, a lot of the Lincoln Learning courses, there's work to do online and there's work to do offline. So their estimate is about 50 minutes per lesson, but it's not all online. And I would encourage you to look at a lot of the other activities and do some of the extendeds that are offline. And this is another, I moved over here to this message tab. This is a kind of an important one. And actually your teachers at Huber they might use this and they might not, but they can message your children this way. But it sounds like they have Google Classroom and Seesaw to probably communicate a little more. So I won't elaborate on that. But if you get that message, your student will have to log in before you can look at the data and before they can work on the course, because that message from the teacher is priority. Okay. There's also a little Twitter feed down the right side of the page. You'll see that today at 2:48, 10 minutes was spent on an activity grid. Okay, create a grid for 4th grade social studies. So you can get right to the minute feeds on what your child's doing in the program. And then up here, there's an overall progress bar, and it'll show all the courses and all the averages currently in the course. Okay, so that's just an overview of the parent login data dashboard. And yeah, it's just a nice tool to help you keep abreast of what your student is doing, what your child is doing in each of their courses. So I'm going to log out, and you will need to hit that blue button to log out. Otherwise, it'll keep trying to log you in as a parent. But if you log out, you want to use the same username and password again, right, as your child. And now I'm going to log in as a student. Just give you a little taste of what to expect. Sorry about that. So if I look again down the left side, it'll show me all my courses as a student. I can see what I have to work on. There are 3 things that are different on my screen than on the parent login. Number 1, that little pencil right beneath the course title that says work on this course is different, because that's not in the parent login. This send message tab, okay, I can message the teacher. And this need help tab, that works. Okay, there's one in the parent login, but it doesn't really do anything. But if I click that, maybe I've forgotten how to do something. Oh, how to work on coursework. I can click on that tab and open this up, and it'll give me tips on how to navigate through the course. So if I forget something and I haven't been able to contact my teacher, I can click on that little help tab and it'll give me all the tips I need. Okay, so I'm going to close that up. But I think I wanted to make sure you knew that that was there, because I know there's a lot of information right here. So I do want to take you into a course. I'm going to go down here to 1st grade. And as I said, that little pencil right underneath the course title, it says work on this course. Okay, kind of like move that bus, right? Work on this course. So I click on that, and it'll open right up to where I left off. It's stored in the memory. The program is designed that it'll take you right to where you were, and you can log out at any time. You don't have to finish something and then go back to it. I'm going to close some of these little tabs here. So when you log in, it'll take you right now. This student is on a show it. And Mr. Hausch has mentioned that there are different components in Lincoln Learning, and I'll get into that. So this student's on a show it, and this will be an activity to show what they know. But over here, parents, I want you to see this too. These are all the different units in this course, and there's a course overview, which would take me back to where I showed you in the data dashboard that has all the assignments kind of spread out in a pacing guide. And then right below it, there's something called course resources. And if I click right on that caret, it'll drop down and show me all the things that are in this resource folder. So there's a Science 1 parent and teacher guide, a guide to social and emotional learning, a Science 1 pacing guide, and an optional supply list. Okay, so if I click on the parent guide, a giant document is going to come out. Okay, there's 170 pages all about learning as a 1st grader and learning in Lincoln Learning and learning about nature. Okay, this is the course science. Let me move that over here. It's in my way. Okay, so here's the parent guide, and I just want to walk you through a little bit, because I would recommend that for all of the courses that your children are in, to go ahead and take a look. I know the teachers at Huber have license to modify and change, but a lot of these, they like the content that's in here. So a lot of this is what your child will be learning and how you can support that learning. Okay, so the lesson, or the guide, introduces the course, and it helps parents understand how this is all laid out. it talks about the different sections of the lessons. There's good research in how these lessons are designed. So they start out with lots of activating prior knowledge activities, some different questioning techniques to find out what they already know, kind of get them curious. Sometimes it will be a video, sometimes it'll be a question prompt. Then there's activities to engage them in the lesson and steer them toward different activities, online and offline. And then there's different activities in sections that promote activities that show how they can demonstrate their learning and what they've learned from the content. So demonstrating what they know. I'm going to scroll down a little bit more. Here's a course at a glance. It kind of breaks down the different components, different areas, ecology and water and living things and so forth. But it gives you a nice background knowledge in what your child is going to learn. And then there's some course introduction, materials and kits, different suggestions that you can do if you choose, like building a science notebook and helping them really get invested in what they're learning, some hands-on things that you can do at home. And then I want to scroll down. There's a ton of information. I'm not going to read 170 pages, but there's some good metacognition activities, different questions you could ask, and the art of questioning. And then here again are those components that I'm going to show you in the lesson right now. So there, and it'll give you some background information on what's the purpose of a read it, and a practice it, and a watch it, and a play it, and a show it. Okay. They have embedded answer keys, and the teacher might choose to hide some of these. I kind of like them out there because it gives your child the responsibility, I guess, of being honest and testing what they know, and it kind of make a game out of it. They have assess it's to measure their understanding, and also reinforce and extend it's that can be used to kind of further deepen their understanding and reinforce maybe some skills that they need some more review. And there's always options for apply it, taking this to the next level outside of the computer, some hands-on activities. So that's just a taste of what's inside that parent guide, okay? So I'm going to close that. I would recommend you even download those and just take a look now and then and get used to those. And as you were told, it was suggested already to just kind of get to know the program in the beginning, click around. There are so many little tools to make things more visible, more friendly. Like this little box here, I can do full screen. I can minimize the screen. I can close and clean up this table of contents side. I can open lessons, just to kind of get a feel for how these all work together. And then I mentioned the pacing guide is here. And if you click on it, it'll do the same. You can download it just like this one, and a supply list. So I'm going to close that and get into a little bit of the lesson. So in the ecology lesson, it begins with a watch it. And if I just click on this, it'll take me right to the watch it piece, which introduces the whole course. So I'm going to open that to the widescreen using that box again. And you'll see it looks like a video is going to start, and it is. So I can open it again with these arrows. Okay, just give you a taste. I'm going to close that up again. All right, so this is a watch it, and they have several. Sometimes it's watching an animation like that, kind of giving an overview. Sometimes there's content. I'll show you that real quick. See that little X, I can minimize there. I could also press escape on my computer if I need to get back. Now, I want to show you one thing. Instead of trying to just click and remember, oh, I know they're highlighting as we go through the lessons, but if you just always get used to clicking the next activity, excuse me, it'll automatically take you to the next activity. You don't have to think, oh, was I in, which part of lesson one was I in? Did I finish that? Computer knows where you were, and it'll pick that right back up. Okay, so this is another teach it, and I'll just give you a little glimpse. And she's going to go on, but I don't know if you noticed that, but the cursor is kind of moving along with the text and it highlighted when she wanted you to notice a word. So a lot of the content is explicitly guided here with videos, with narrations, with read alouds. In fact, I'll show you on the read it part. So we had a watch it, teach it. There's a little read it. I'm going to go to the big screen again. Now the read its are going to complement the watch its complement the read it. So they get that video with that narrated teacher, right, reading along with the highlighted text. And now they're going to get a little deeper with some of the same concepts. And this is meant to be read, but it does have this tool. And I remember hearing this, it was mentioned to you in the early part of this presentation that you had a tool to help you. This has so many neat gadgets. It has a little hand that you can click on. And when you click that and it highlights in pink, anywhere you click, it'll start reading all of the web content. It'll keep reading all of the content, okay? I like the next one a little better only because maybe I don't want it to read, sorry. You have to unclick if you don't want it to keep going. So it'll just keep reading. If I highlight some words and I just want to have some of it read, like, oh, that's a long word here, I'm going to highlight this. And I just want that read, I can click and highlight and click here.
Just like you have a place that you call home. Animals and plants also marry as home as well. And a restaurant habitat doesn't have.
I don't know why I did that. It shouldn't do that. It normally you just click it and just that will just read that one text. But I wanted to also, there's a globe. If you highlight and hit the globe, it'll read the word. It'll show the word in whatever language you've selected. And if you hit the arrow, it'll read that word. The same thing with the sticky notes and the highlighter. You can highlight text. If I want to highlight, I can pick yellow and highlight. Interesting. There we go. It's been a long day, I think. It's tired, or I am. Sorry about that. So there's this little gauge. Again, you can change the translation to a different language, or you can change the rate of the speech. But that's just your little cool reading tool and help you keep notes and different things like that. So that is a read it, okay? I can close that up. And then there's show it's. And I do want to show you something because I know your teachers might provide you with some paper, some different guidance on some lessons that are in the LinkedIn Learning content. And they'll make different suggestions, like for drawing pictures. They might say print. You don't have to print anything. You can print, you can draw, you can add pictures from Google. You can just be creative. So if I were looking at this lesson, the objective, you will identify terrestrial habitats, and it's asking us to think of, put the word terrestrial habitat in the middle. Let me open this up so you can see it a little better. So when I have it open, you still hear me okay? There we go. It's asking me to put terrestrial habitat in the center and name 4 different types of habitats. And I can do this on this paper. I can use a screenshot of this page. So if I just wanted to do a little screenshot, and you can ask your teachers how to do that if you don't know. I know a lot of kids do. And then I can turn around and write on it. I can draw pictures. You know, maybe I want to put a habitat up here. Maybe I'm thinking of a forest and I want to draw. Okay, that's one way I could do it. Okay, I don't have to print anything. I can actually save this and submit it as an assignment. I can also just draw on paper. I could fold a piece of paper into 4 squares, right? And hamburger style, whatever, and make my 4 boxes and write my word in the center. And I noticed in this lesson, someone has already practiced this one with this one, and they just wrote the different categories. So they wrote terrestrial habitat and listed some. So there's multiple ways if you want to do the show it's to do it other than using that as a printout. Of course, you can print it out, but you can also save your ink and do lots of different things. And I look forward to seeing all the creative ways that you come up with to capture that image in another way. Okay, so there's show it's, and then there's an answer key. So did I know all the different habitats? So did I get it on, was I on track? Did I understand the words and so forth? And sometimes the teachers might hide those, depends on what they want to do with it. If they want to use it as a grade or they don't. Okay, so that's just a little taste of what's inside a first grade science. And watch it, teach it, read it, show it, teach it, read it. And they'll go through several of those. Like I said, a lesson is actually supposed to be about a day's work. But as a first grader, you might not want to do all of that in one sitting. You might want to watch the videos and do the reading, right? Because those kind of complement one another. And maybe then you're going to take a break, or then you want to go outside and look for habitats. Know that you can break that up so that you're not just sitting at the computer all that time to complete the work, okay? It's going to be a little figuring out what works best. You're lucky you will have your teachers meeting with you, doing some synchronous learning and things, and that'll be awesome to complement all of this content, okay? But again, using the next activity will take you to where you left off. Okay, so I'm gonna, actually I wanna go back and show you a little bit. Do I have time? A little bit to show you a glimpse of 4th grade, because it's a little bit different. Close this up a little so you can see. I like cleaning up this table of contents just by tapping these little carrots. But if I want to go in Unit 1, and I've been learning about maps, so it looks like this child's on activity grid down here. If I wanted to work on that, I could just come over here and read what I'm supposed to do. And I could come down here and write about it. And notice, remember before I said you could insert images rather than cutting and pasting some things, you can just insert images right into this document, drop an image in here, you can type into the text. There's lots of little features in submitting. And again, you submit it by hitting that button, submit. If there was something that you did download, maybe you saved something, you can hit the plus to add the attachment and then submit it, okay? I wanted to show you a little bit of the difference here. My computer's working hard. So in this context, they'll have the images and text right in here. And a lot of times, rather than using that tool, you can just click over here next to the vocabulary word and it'll read it to you. And there are some tools up here too. So spend some time, like Mr. Hausch said, and get familiar with it. This will be like second nature in no time at all. And give yourself some grace and, you know, patience to as you get used to it. Because I know I've been playing around with it and I feel like I'm still learning a few things, but it's getting easier every day. All right, and have fun. I think there's some neat things embedded in these lessons. And you're lucky, your teachers can get in there and customize to meet your needs. And I think that's about wraps up what I had planned to say, but I think we're gonna share some questions out. And if I've left anything out that I haven't answered, I'll do that now.
Okay, super. So Mr. Hausch, there were a lot of questions and I know you had posted some responses, but can you share with the families maybe when they should expect to get their PLP
Sure.
login?
Yeah, sure. So, you know, really what was supposed to happen was when you picked up your Chromebook, the login information and information for you to access, the Chromebook and different things should have been handed out at that time. Now, if that didn't happen, what you can do is you can contact the building. You can send an email, you can make a phone call. There's also a web on our website, the Huber Heights City Schools website. There's a tech request form. So, that stuff's really important. In terms of access to PLP, students are going to be taken through that by their teachers, and we're not starting PLP until next week. They might go for a tour, they might show them around, but we're really not getting started until next week because we want to meet our kids. We want to learn about who's in our classes. We want to develop relationships. So the PLP access is something that, I know that that's something that's a concern, but we're going to walk your kids through it. In terms of parent access to PLP, the URLs, the addresses for each building has its own address to get to PLP, but there's also a district address, so you can really get to your student's account either way. And that's going to be on the website, on the main page, as well as on each individual school page. So all of that, I appreciate that people want to get on there and look around. So that should be up there this evening. While those questions were coming in, I was texting with our communication supervisor and he's on it. So that should be up there shortly. I also had a couple other questions that I just wrote down. So until we get to more formal questions, I saw some people, there were a lot of questions about where do I get my login? So I already answered that. There were some questions about how is this going to work for a younger student? If I have a kindergartner, and how are they going to be expected to do this? So I want you to know that we are really focused on that. We're really focused on how we can make sure that all of our kids, no matter what their age, are successful with online learning. So teachers are going to be meeting with kids through Google Meets and being on screen throughout the day. Each grade level has a different schedule, and that should come from your teacher. Also, most likely it was handed out during open house. So for our elementary school kids, there's a schedule that pretty much mirrors what they would be doing during the day. There's going to be meetings in the morning and afternoon. We're not expecting kids to be computer wizards to be able to do these things. And so during the past few days, we've been looking at these tools that we can use where kids can actually draw on the actual, like a kindergartner could circle things on a document. We're trying to make this as easy as possible. And we know it's not going to be easy for everyone. So we get it. We know that, this is going to be a struggle for some kids and some parents and families, and we're going to work with you on it. We're trying to put the best tools that we could find in place to make online learning successful. And we really are hoping that we can come back to in-person learning as soon as possible. So we're hoping that our schedule works and we'll be able to get back in the classroom as well. But until then, we're trying to put all the tools in place to make your student, no matter what their age, successful. And we're going to be very understanding of lots of different family situations.
Super. Thank you, Matt. There were some questions that just popped in around families that are working. Is there a particular time that students have to be on? Will there be some grace given for families?
There's going to be lots of grace given. So what we're hoping is that, a lot of our kids, most of our kids, as many as possible, can be on during the school day. And the reason why, and before people get upset about that, we also know that there are going to be exceptions. But the reason why we're hoping that kids are on during the school day is because that's when our teachers will be there. They'll be there. They'll be able to see your kids. They'll be able to talk to them. They'll be able to have small group meetings with them. They'll do read aloud. So there'll be that guided practice that, is really valuable. So that's what we're hoping for families that's not going to work for. If you have a situation such as that, where it's impossible for your students to be on during the day, then contact the building principal, contact the teacher, contact the principal, talk to them about your situation. We're going to try to be as flexible as possible to make it work. But, some of that conversation might also be like, well, how can we help? Is there something we can do that would allow your child to be on during the day, or for some days, maybe not every day, but like, so those are the kinds of conversations we want to have, because we really want to interact with your student. We want them to be connected to the other kids and to their teachers.
So Matt, maybe just a little extension of that. There were a few questions in the chat around, what if my child is on an IEP and gets specially designed instruction? What might that look like for us?
Right. So your children that have special needs, that have special plans like IEPs, 504s, those plans will still be in place and they will still receive the support that they need. So if your child's on an IEP, not only will they have the support of their classroom teacher, they'll have the support of their intervention specialist. So those kinds of supports will be, connected through, Google Meets and also in an online fashion. But each case is kind of different and it's individualized. But, we intentionally have our intervention specialists set up, ready to support and ready to modify and work with each individual student's needs. So the support will still be there. Of course, it'll look different because we're doing online school. Everything looks different right now, but the support will still be there.
Great. So there was another question around, will teachers be using PLP in the classroom when students go back in person? And so will kids be on computers in the classroom, or will it be like last year, but just more PLP hybrid curriculum?
That's a great question. So, we believe that this is an opportunity for our district and for every district to really think about how blended learning can, transform a classroom. And when we talk about blended learning, what we're talking about, we're not talking about being at home sometimes and being at school sometimes. We're talking about a blend of technology and traditional instruction. So when your kids are back in person, there will be still some blended learning happening and that's already happened. I mean, it's not something that's never happened before, but imagine this where, potentially a small group will be doing a lesson on PLP, another small group will be doing a collaborative group project, another small group will be meeting with the teacher. So having it kind of blend in with what we normally do so that students are engaged and they're using the technology tools, and we're trying to get to those learning needs as much as possible through lots of different methods. So schools PLP will continue to a certain degree, but it won't be the same when the students are back in person, because suddenly we have more options. But we don't think that it's just going to go away, because it's a good tool and we think we'll still be able to use it, as we move forward.
Super. So could you clarify in regards to, is PLP in addition to Google Classroom and Clever, when signing into the Chromebook, do they sign in using Google or Clever?
That's a great idea. Okay, so I saw a lot of questions about this, and we've been thinking about this quite a bit. So there's two different methods, and one of them is for younger students, pre-K to second grade, and then another one's for 3rd through 6th. So our youngest students, we created these badges, which are QR codes. So what happens is when they open up the Chromebook, there's a button that says on the screen, it says next, and you hit that and the camera activates. So the camera on the Chromebook activates, and instead of having to type in their login, they hold up their badge and the camera reads the badge and then it logs them in automatically. So we wanted to try to eliminate as much of that typing for the youngest students so they can get on pretty easily. So when that happens, after the camera reads their badge, they're going to be immediately taken to a landing page, which is their Clever landing page. And Clever is the system that is, basically it logs you into every program that you need. Okay, so Seesaw, Schools PLP, all these different things. So, but what our intent is that when students go into their computer, they immediately hit the icon that says Seesaw, so that they can go into their classroom and have access to all the different images and pictures and videos and things that their teachers have created on their Seesaw page. Okay. And that's where they will also then travel to PLP. There will be a link in Seesaw that they're going to be really used to clicking when they go there. For the older students, 3rd through 6th, or 3rd through 12th, they open up their computer and they log in, and they have a login that they're going to get used to using, and they've used it last year. They log into their computer and it takes them into Google Classroom. Okay. It takes them directly into, the open tab for Google, and then they hit Classroom. And then they go into their Google Classroom and navigate from there. So there was a one-page login instructions page that was made, and that if you don't have that, you should definitely get a copy of that from your building principal or your teacher. And it walks through every step for either kindergarten through second, or pre-K through second, or third through sixth. And it's only like 2 or 3 steps. Open the computer, show your badge, takes you to this page, click on Seesaw. And the same thing for third through 12th. So it should be fairly easy for them to navigate. We're always either going into Seesaw if you're pre-K to 2, or Google Classroom if you're third through 12th. Those are your front doors. That's your lobby. That's where you start. And that's very intentional, because that's where all the information is, the welcome messages. What are we doing for today? All the links that you need. So we've been trying to really make this as simple as possible for all of our students to navigate.
Great. What should a student do if they have some connectivity issues, some Wi-Fi issues? What might they be advised to do?
I mean, I would take that the same way as if you can't get to school, you have to call and say, I'm sick, or the car broke down, or we're out of town, or any of those kinds of things. So if you can't get on, if you have connectivity issues, call the school and say, we can't get online. Here's, we need help, so then we can not only know why your child's not there, but we can also help you if you have an issue with connection. Do we need to think about trying to get a hotspot for you? Is it a computer issue and we need to change out the Chromebook? All those kinds of things that we can help troubleshoot at the school level. That's what should happen. So it's definitely calling in and saying, I'm having this issue, so that we know why your child's not at school.
Okay. Should students plan on keeping their cameras on?
There are going to be some times when students should have their cameras on. If you're meeting with your teacher, it's not like your student would have their camera on all day and just be in front of the computer all day. That's not the intent of this online learning. But there are times when the camera should be on, so that we can see students' faces, so they can talk and interact with the teacher and with the other students. So it just depends on what the activity is, but there's definitely times when the camera should be on, so that we can see your child's lovely face, and they can interact, and other students can see them, and just like as if you were in the classroom.
Okay. So if a student needs some support and they've messaged their teachers, what kind of response time should they expect to get?
So that's one of the reasons why we're making sure that teachers are on, in person, on camera, at least twice a day, but it's going to be, a lot of teachers are going to be on more than that. And it kind of depends on the building. For example, high school, the first 20 minutes of class, kids are in class with their teacher present, and, so that kind of thing, where they're going from period to period. So it looks a little bit different at elementary school, but you should get a response that's fairly quick. It depends on when your child reaches out. If they reach out at 10 a.m., it might be, noon or 1 o'clock, when the teacher comes back on the camera and they kind of respond to your child. Might be 10 minutes later. It's one of those things where it depends on what's happening during that day. Our goal is to have teachers respond to students as soon as possible. But, it kind of depends on what time the question comes out. If it's someone who at 5 o'clock is emailing their teacher a question, I don't expect that the teacher would get back to them until the next day, the next morning. So, it just kind of depends. But the idea is that it's a quick response, and that we have those frequent meetings so that questions are shared, and we can kind of keep pace with what our students need.
Do you mind sharing with us again if someone's having trouble getting logged in using their badge or their ID? Who should they reach out to?
So if you're having trouble logging, I think that it's always good to reach out to the teacher first, because the teacher might be able to solve that issue very quickly. They usually have logins and they have all that information. Let's say it's something that happens in the evening. You could send an email to the teacher. There is a tech request support form on the website. So if you go to the Huber Heights City Schools website under the technology group, department, there's a form there that you can fill out. But, I think doing that, but reaching out to your teacher is a great idea, because the teachers will have that information and they're going to want the kids to get on there. If for some reason the child's not able to log in, the teacher is going to be like, what's going on with that student? And they're really going to want to see them and want to help them get connected. So that would be my first email, but also there are tech forms and you can always contact the building principal. So just trying to get get you back in there as quickly as possible. That's the goal.
Okay, there's a really good question about specials like music and gym. What might that look like for online learners?
Can you say that one more time? I have to confess, I was looking at the chat. I'm kind of doing double duty here.
No problem, Mr. House. So there's a really good question around like the specials. So what might music and gym look like? Will students have music and gym? And if so, what should we expect?
So, depending on what grade they're in, depends on what it's going to look like, but they have music, gym, art, and they're still going to have their SEL classes, their social emotional learning classes. So all the specials that they've traditionally had, they will still have. PLP has courses in music, art, and gym. So some of that's going to be used. I know they're also thinking about using some Google Classroom activities. So it's going to be an experience where, for PE, kids are going to be up, they're going to be moving, they're going to be, expected to get some exercise, and in art, they're going to be expected to do art. So it'll look different than in person, but it's still going to be that same kind of concept. As the kids get older, band and orchestra and things like that, we're problem solving that. And we've actually invested in some software that helps students play instruments remotely. And, you're going to find out more about that from the teachers, but we had some, kind of unique classes that weren't really able to be substituted with PLP. So we created some different solutions for those. So still the same flavor for those courses, but it's going to look a little different. And we are using PLP for a good majority of them.
And maybe we just have a couple last little pieces. Again, if my child's having computer issues, will my child be in trouble, or will that count against them attendance wise?
No, we're not. I mean, nobody's trying to get anybody in trouble or catch, we want to catch kids being good and help them, really get connected. So just call the school, email the teacher. I mean, if you don't have connectivity, then, we got to figure out how to get that message from home to school, but let us know what's going on and we'll try to help you get connected and get your student back in the classroom. But, we understand that this is not going to be easy for everyone. It's not going to be easy for anyone, really. I mean, a lot of kids, it's a very different expectation for them. Some kids do very well with it. Some kids do okay. Some kids struggle with it. And we have to understand that and work together to make it work.
So I believe I was able to keep up with most of the chat. Families, thank you for your great questions. I know this is all new for us, so definitely appreciate your thoughtful questions. There will be a recording provided. There's another session tomorrow. You're welcome to join again with additional questions that you might have. Matt, do you want to say some closing remarks?
I appreciate the opportunity to speak to our parents. I would love to do this in person, and that's been challenging right now, but I look forward to meeting you, to supporting your students. I'm very grateful to be back in Huber Heights. When I was a principal here 10 years ago, I really loved the community, and I'm glad to be back. So we're trying to do the best we can to make this a great learning experience for your kids. If you have issues, just reach out to us, give us feedback, and we will work with it. You know, we want to get better at what we're doing. We know we're not the experts in this, and we also know that no one else is, that we're all kind of in this together. So we're gonna work with you, and we're gonna try to improve day by day. And I'm excited about the first day of school tomorrow. I hope you are. I hope your kids are, and I hope that it's a really great school year. So I appreciate you being here.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Have a good year. And do reach out if you have any questions about schools POP.